where you said what actually happens or what can be done in a situation where estrangement in terms of the kid or the child is saying, I do not want to have contact because with my parent because of A, B, C, and D. And it is basically as a result of parental alienation, because I think parental alienation is something that can happen in the beginning, and then as a natural result what actually happens is you will happen, or what will happen is parental estrangement, and that is where the relationship between the father or between the parent and the child is actually just systematically broken down. So I mean, in that case, how is it that you go about proving that? How is it that you go about actually getting or being able to actually establish that relationship with the child again, and actually being able to build that relationship with the child again? I mean, are we talking about reunification? Is that possible in this situation? Even if, let's say, the child is against reunification, or the mother who is acting, or the parent who is acting as the voice of the child is saying that the child is against, reunification services. What do you then do in that situation?
Thank you very much for that. My apologies. I see we had some type of a technical glitch regarding the microphone earlier on. I presume you can hear me well, loud and well now. As I mentioned early on, and which you might not have heard, this is the second part of the video, or of the topic, parental alienation and the law. What can I do? We listened to a video clip of somebody that watched the video yesterday or partook and sent us a voice clip regarding that specific issue. And it's a very interesting question which has posed. What can you do? The minor child no longer wants to have contact with you, and you feel that there has been some type of, involvement or some type of undue influence on the other party. But nonetheless, the court got involved. The court now said there must be some type of contact. My view on these type of matters is straight and clear. A minor child needs to have contact. It's a requirement. It's the right of the minor child to have care and contact with the parent. It's very important. That is the foundation where I'm coming from. Unless there are specific, circumstances that will not allow for it, where it will not be the minor child's best interest. For example, the parent is abusive, the parent assaults a minor child, and various other examples. But if there's a personality clash between between the minor child and the parent, the mother or the father, that in itself is not good enough reason for the minor child not to have care and contact for the minor with that specific parent. And I say the first sole reason, let's say for example, let's say the mother and the father live in the same home. And of course, the daughter does not get well along with the mother. Does it now mean that they should not speak to each other, that the mother should leave the premises or the child should leave the premises? No, they should figure out a way on how to deal with each other, how to live with each other. And in doing so, they will figure it out. But if we have a scenario whereby, because they cannot get along, one parent should no longer have communication with the minor child, they should not be in each other's space, they should be, separated from each other, although they live in the same home, that would not make logical sense. Therefore, when it comes to parental alienation, if it was a fruit of previous conducts of either parent, whoever the case may be, parent or the child or family members that cause this type of parental alienation, there is no reason why not to force the minor child, of course force within reason, I'm obviously trying to be reasonable here, to have contact with a minor child. We should not place to have contact with a parent. We should not place too much emphasis on the minor child, what the minor child specifically want, and etc. Because today the minor child wants something. I want to live with mom, and tomorrow the minor child said I want to live with dad. Of course, there are various factors to consider. I mean, you might have in your scenario, in your example, in your mind while I'm speaking here, you might be envisaging. Sorry, lack of my words are out today. A minor child of 5 years old, or 6 years old, or your child of 12 years old, or 17 years old. Each case is different. All factors are different. History is different. Past circumstances are different. So I'm being general here. I might be wrong regarding one specific example and right regarding another example. But the general answer which I will give is a minor child needs to have contact with a parent. It's very important for his or her upbringing, for his or her adult life, future relationships. When the minor child is involved with another party, like the mother was involved with the father was involved with the mother, how does the minor child deal with that? Does the minor child deal with that, for example, when the minor child has his or her own children and there's some type of conflict? What does it mean? Must he or she now alienate the minor child from the other parent as her mother has done with her? So thank you very much for that specific clip. I appreciate it very much for have spent the time giving that. And there needs to be some type of active involvement from the courts, from social workers, psychologists, where they themselves need to understand that there is this concept of parental alienation. That parental alienation is live, it happens often, and that is the cause for many care and contact disputes. If there was a principle where parents support minor children of having contact with the other parent, minor children, they encourage a minor child to love the other parent, to involve with the other parent, despite the issues which the parents have. That's very important. Despite the issues the parents have, care and contact issues will be limited drastically. Court matters will be limited drastically. So thank you very much for that. So question number one. Is outstanding maintenance a reason to refuse contact? Due to COVID-19 and lack of work, I have been unable to pay all the maintenance agreed to with the mother. The mother now no longer allows the children to have contact with me. Is that allowed? Obviously, that is not allowed. Care and contact and child maintenance issues are separate issues. They are very important and serious issues. If you have a problem with a parent not paying child maintenance, you go to the maintenance court, lay complaint, lay criminal complaint, etc. But the court will not say because you're not paying maintenance, you're not allowed to have contact with a child. In the same breath, it does not mean that you're paying all the minor child expenditure, 100% of the minor child expenditure, automatically you should have 100% contact rights to the minor child. It does not work that way. The same way, if a mother pays none of the minor child expenditure because she's not working, she's unemployed, she can't afford to do so, and the father pays all the minor child expenditure because he's working and he can afford to do so, and it is in a minor child's best interest for the father to only see the minor child every second weekend, then the court will make such an order. So he pays all the minor child expenditure, but he sees the minor child most probably 10% of the time. So in this specific question, it does not mean that the father is paying the father is paying very little of the minor child expenditure, like 5% or 2% of the minor child expenditure. His contact right should also be limited to that amount. It does not work that way. So my advice to the father, please approach the children's court sooner than later where the minor child or the mother resides and lay complaint because you'd like to have contact with the minor child. And if the mother has a problem with you not paying maintenance, let that be resolved in the maintenance court. That is in the minor child's best interest, in my view. Let's move to the second question. Parenting plan only allows for supervised contact. The mother had a very good lawyer, and because of that, I was forced to agree to have supervised contact with my children. They are 3 and 4 years old. The problem is the mother is the one who supervises, and I cannot bond with the children. Is it worth fighting for unsupervised contact? Yes, it's obviously worth fighting for unsupervised contact. As a professional point of view, believe that the general trend should be contact should be unsupervised. Supervised contact is for those serious circumstances where the minor child, for example, is in danger of being alone with the other parent. That is one. Or the minor child is very, very young and the other parent cannot care for the minor child adequately and therefore you need somebody to supervise. Or contact never took place for many years and the minor child now needs to bond with the other parent and they need a third party in between, an uncle, an aunt, a social worker, whatever the case may be. So it is worth fighting for your right for unsupervised contact. So that is my advice to you. Having a good lawyer, yes, that helps a bit with the process. It makes the process a bit more smoother for the one party. However, the court ultimately has to decide this matter on what is in the minor child's best interest and not on who has a better lawyer. So that, I hope it assists you. Fight for your child, fight for unsupervised contact. And me personally, From a professional point of view and a personal point of view, I cannot see how a person can bond with a child if the other party that does not want you to have contact is supervising the contact. It doesn't make sense, especially when it comes to young kids, because now a child is crying, which kids cry all the time, depending upon the age, and you need to learn to pacify the minor child. I'm certain when the mother learned to pacify the minor child was probably cried for quite a long time, half an hour, 45 minutes, before she figured it out. The same way you should be given the proper opportunity with assistance maybe or the mother to figure it out how to pacify the child. Therefore, unsupervised contact by the other party that caused you to have supervised contact. My apologies. Supervised contact being supervised by another party that calls you to have the supervised contact is not a good idea at all. So fight for your rights. The third question, my daughter refused to visit me at my home. I have a 17-year-old daughter who refuses to visit me at home. The mother does not get involved and says it is her choice, the daughter's choice. What options do I have? My daughter is turning 18 next month. So the first challenge I have is whatever option I give you and the daughter turns 18 next month, let's say worst case scenario, best case scenario, 30 days time, how do we deal with the matter? Because in 30 days time the minor child would be an adult and any care and contact arrangements will be futile. It won't be of application. The minor child is now an adult and you cannot force an adult to have contact with another adult, like a parent. So what can you do now? I would most probably suggest leave things the way they are. I do not cannot advise you to go to court, because once you go to court, it will only appear most probably once she turns 18. Leave things the way they are and try your best to try to mend things with your daughter as best as you can. She is an adult and therefore you do not have to deal with the mother anymore. Maybe now until she turns 18 years old, you have to deal with the mother from now until then. But after that, deal with her. She's an adult and try your best to resolve matters with her. But let me be fair to this question. Let's say she had to be now 14 years old and she says she does no longer want to have contact with her father. I would then obviously want to know what the reasons there are. Does the father have any valid reasons for saying that? Is it because he remarried, there's a new family, there's some history of abuse between him and the mother, maybe between him and the child? I cannot speculate. But what are those reasons? And despite those reasons, we need to go back to my earlier principle that contact needs to take place between parents. It's very important. As I mentioned yesterday in our webinar, maybe approach a social worker to get involved and to do an investigation, maybe have parental counsel meetings, sessions with the other parent present, with a professional person, trying to resolve the specific issue. Maybe have a session with the daughter present and the mother and father and the daughter present, and try to discuss these issues with professionals involved. If all else fails, then of course you need to approach the court and see what the court has to say as upper guardian of all minor children, because the court has a greater say over your child than you and the other parent, than the mom and the dad. That's very important to note. And if the court does apply its mind and in its wisdom and so on to your specific matter, and they come to a conclusion, this child needs to have contact with the father, which I presume they will obviously try some mechanism to make it happen, either supervised contact initially to see what are the issues, maybe with a social worker supervising it, and from there move to unsupervised contact, because the minor child needs to have contact with both parents. It's not for one parent to say, or the minor child to say, I do not want to have contact with my parents. We listen to them. We hear. Why does the minor child not want to have contact with the voice of the child? It's very important. It's a constitutional, and the Child Maintenance Act specifically deals with that. The voice of the child. But we listen to the child, but we do not follow exactly what the child has to say. That's very important to know. The same way with professionals, we listen to what the professionals have to say, the social workers, the psychologists, but we do not necessarily always have to follow what they have to say. We take a bit of that, bit of this. For example, if the child today says, no, I want to live with mom, because life with mom is fun, happy, easygoing, no homework, no schoolwork. I do not want to live with dad because with dad, homework gets done, there's structure, there's routine, there's a curfew, and so on. Do we just follow what the minor child has to say and say, okay, because you want to live with mom, life is good, go to mom, or the mom works whole day, and there's a nanny there that cannot attend to the schoolwork, and the mom lives 10 kilometers away from the school where the father lives a road away. I hope that assisted you today. Thank you very much. Apologies for the sound issue early on, and have a lovely day. See you online tomorrow.